Hi, my name is JT Abeleda, and this is my modification to the game Scrabble, called Scrabble Into the Dungeon. Within the original game of Scrabble, the aesthetic can be simply described as competitive, since players compete to be the player with the most points. Within Scrabble Into the Dungeon, however, there is an extension of this competitive nature through the aesthetic and theme shift of challenge and fantasy. Within my first modification to the game, randomized color-coded tiles can be seen scattered across the board, which represents a fearsome fantastical creature assigned with a certain level number. One can defeat an enemy by placing a letter tile with that many points assigned to the creature or higher. For instance, if there were an orange tile, which is representative of a level 8 enemy, one would only be able to place the letters J, X, Q, or Z on the orange tile to score a point, since these are the only letters that have 8 points or higher to score. This mechanic establishes a sense of challenge for the players, as there comes an obstacle of limiting placement of certain words depending on the luck of the players, randomized letters, or positioning of words already placed on the board. The second modification I added to the game are random encounters. Every 5 turns, players will experience a world event through drawing a card from the new randomized encounter cards. These encounters range from being simple rewards for the players to revel within to quirky challenges for the player to overcome. An example of one encounter would be the Lethal Scroll encounter. When playing the original Scrabble, one is typically not able to use proper nouns, such as using names like James. However, when encountering the Lethal Scroll card, one is able to use names of people one knows to score a point for the rest of the game. Another example would be the Verbal Verb Wizard, which forces players on their next turn to place down a verb to score a point. Seen through these two mechanics of encountering fantastical creatures throughout the game, the aesthetic and theme of Scrabble shifts into a more challenging and fantasy feel for players. Instead of simply placing down words on a board, one will be required to put a little bit more thought into where to place certain words due to the challenging obstacle of monsters residing on certain tiles on the board. In addition, random creature encounters shifts gameplay significantly, as the game can turn in favor of or ultimately hinder the player's performance through the sheer luck of the cards. All in all, players will feel immersed within the fantasy world through the mechanical shifts of gameplay, through slaying beasts with certain letter tiles, to facing many random encounters of creatures walking the plains of Scrabble Into the Dungeon.